Oh,
Yeah, that's
it shouldn't be just yesterday. It should do it today also.
Thank God nobody I know has seen yet.
Oh, okay.
Well, technically that is today. Technically that is today. Oh, thank you. My Omer alarm went off last night as I was walking by 770, so of course I had to stop and do it, and then she was making fun of me. It was on your face. Honestly, last night, yeah. And what do you know? I only see you coming. All
Okay.
right, I have a class that needs to be taught in the boys' schools. How to go down Kingston Avenue without going through the middle, because the amount of times I've almost been tackled by guys on electric scooters, rollerblades, and bikes. They need to know the laws of the road. They don't own all of Kingston Avenue.
They
One
have
side.
they have good. They didn't bump into you.
They almost do. Hard. It's like a heart attack every time I walk to school.
Okay. It's a shame. So yesterday we started and finished the laws of Hagaimel. Does anybody remember when the bracha of Hagaimel is recited? Or for the Ashkenazim, if you're a lady, you just hear Baruch.
When the Torah is brought out.
When the?
Torah is brought out.
That's when it's recited, correct?
Or
but who has to say it? It should be done in less than 3 days, correct? But who are the people that have to recite the blessing or to answer Baruch?
Yeah.
Who?
The person who like went through this thing, like a severe illness.
That's
traveling,
one.
going over the ocean,
Traveling for, there's 2 types of travel. You just,
through the desert, through the ocean.
okay, that's good.
Getting
That's
out
good.
of jail.
That's 4. Excellent.
If they were bedridden.
Yeah, if they were very good.
Wow.
Look at that.
They-
So does anybody remember what the Sephardic custom is? How would a lady bench Hagaimel? How would she recite the blessing of Hagaimel? It doesn't say inside.
10 people come to their house.
That's right. You actually have 10 people come to the house and they recite Hagaimel. The Ashkenazi custom is a little bit different. You hear Baruch Hu and fulfill this halacha. And as was mentioned, the bracha of Hagaimel is recited. It should be within 3 days of when the miracle happened. And let's say somebody had a miracle and it did not include any of these things. What is the proper thing to do? Anyone remember? You should designate, set aside tzedakah, give it to Torah scholars. People are constantly learning. And you should say, V'yihirot, saying that it may be Hashem's will that this tzedakah is considered as if I brought a carbon, a sacrifice, the carbon taida, the Thanksgiving offering. Another proper thing to do is to establish something which benefits the community as opposed to just one person. And every year on the day that the miracle happened, you take the time to rethink and to say over the miracle that Hashem did and to thank Hashem in such a way. Many have the custom to make a suda seidah, a meal of thanksgiving to Hashem. And before doing any type of medical procedure, taking any medicine, what do? You say the Yehirot, saying that maybe Hashem's will, that this that this thing that I'm doing, maybe Hashem's will, that it should serve for healing purposes. Yeah, and as was practiced by somebody, if somebody sneezes, you say, you say bless you, whatever it is, and the other person says, Baruch Tia, they give a blessing back. When does a person's tefillos help? Does it help to daven for something that already happened? No, correct. So if something, right? So the example that we gave is a war broke out, and you're davening the war should not break out, right? That's called a tfilas shav, an empty prayer, because you can't pray for something that already transpired. Prayer is for the future, that the war should stop, nobody should be harmed, everyone should be saved. So all of these examples, that's where tefillah helps. Tefillah for backwards is called a tfilas shav, an empty prayer, a prayer in vain, so to speak. Okay, then, so we're holding now Siman Samach Daled, chapter 64, in the Lashon HaKodesh, in the Hebrew, page 408, in the English, 409. So I'll just preface again, we started explaining yesterday, there's different types of isurim, things which are prohibited. There's something called isurei hana. Isurei hana means that it is something which is forbidden and one is not allowed to derive benefit from it. Can anybody name an example? Avodah Zarah, excellent, something that we learned about. Avodah Zarah is exactly if meat and milk was cooked together, that's also an example of isurei hana. One is not allowed to derive benefit from it. Anybody know any other ones? Chametz is asr b'hana. After Pesach, it's on the Rabbanan, a knas, whatever it is. Kilaim, mixing different seeds together, planting things together, that's also an Isser Hana. So what does it mean in Isser Hana? What does it mean that somebody's not allowed to derive benefit? Literally, it means that you're not allowed to derive benefit. You can't buy, you can't sell, you can't use it for your personal things, you can't give it to somebody as a gift, so on and so forth. There are certain prohibitions that we're not allowed to take or derive any benefit from. Now, many things which are forbidden, there's no specific prohibition to derive benefit from it, right? Pork, non-kosher meats, one is allowed to derive benefit from. We'll see, there's a limit to that. What other examples are there? So that's all in food. Whatever it is, most things nowadays, even though it can be prohibited to eat, but there's no prohibition of hana, there's no prohibition to derive benefit from it. Now we're learning that even though something may not have a prohibition to derive benefit from it, but there is a prohibition to do business with it. So in case you want to go into business, or more practical, if you have already somebody in the family who's doing business, we have to know that there's halachas of what a person is allowed to do business with and what a person is not allowed to do business with. I just want to go back to the story that I mentioned yesterday, that somebody, a Jewish person, owned Wendy's. What would be the problem of owning a Wendy's branch?
Getting money based off of cheeseburgers.
So what's the problem? There's a problem.
Deriving benefit from milk and meat.
What happens if it's not milk and meat? Would I be allowed to derive benefit from the money? Oh, this
But
is.
that's fine. If it's fine, so it's straight, it's not fine for milk and meat.
Oh, that's the halacha. Excellent. That's exactly the halacha that we're going to be learning today, that there is a problem. Meaning, you're right, excellent on the part that you're not allowed to derive benefit because it's milk and meat. This chapter is going to teach us that you can't derive benefit if there's a problem. You can't do business, so you're allowed to derive benefit for other things. But specifically business, to have a store, for example, that sells meat and milk, not meat and milk, things which are not kosher, it's a special halacha. One is not allowed to do business with such things. That's exactly the point that I wanted to bring out. So, Samach Dalet, the prohibition of dealing in forbidden objects. Shalai lases chayra b'davar ha'asr, not to do dealing, business, whatever it is, with something which is prohibited. Aleph, halacha number 1. Kol davar she'asr min ha'tayra ba'achila, anything which the Torah forbade to eat, so anything which is a biblical prohibition to eat, even though there's no prohibition to derive benefit from it, right? For example, a cow which was not shechted properly, something which is called a nevela, right? Or a non-kosher animal to begin with. So there's no prohibition to derive benefit from it, right? If this product, this meat, for example, is something which is set aside to eat, right? It's a product that which you eat. One is not allowed to do business, to buy and sell it, or to take it as a collateral when giving a loan. Yeah, so there's no prohibition of deriving benefit from a non-kosher animal, right? You're allowed to derive benefit from a pig, from pork, but there's a special halacha to do business with it. This is already a different story. To do business with it, or to give a loan and to take a non-kosher animal, the meat of a non-kosher animal, as collateral, that is not allowed. Even to purchase it, to give it to your non-Jewish worker, which he's allowed to eat non-kosher food, but for you to purchase it and to give it to the non-Jewish worker to eat, one is also not allowed to do so. Something which is not designated for eating, for example, horses or donkeys, you're allowed to do business with them. The forbidden fats of an animal, you're also allowed to do business with it. You're allowed to do with it any, you can use it for any purpose that you desire. So let's bring this practical. You want to open up a business, and you have the opportunity to do business with non-kosher animals. What would be allowed? What would not be allowed? Can anyone guess? Based on what we just learned, what kind of business are you allowed to open with non-kosher animals?
A farm.
A farm. What are you going to do with the animal?
Petting zoo.
You can own a petting zoo, correct? You're allowed to sell animals for a petting zoo because this is not miyuchad la'achila. It is not designated to be eaten. It's used for other things. So you can have a petting zoo. You're not eating the animals, obviously. It's a petting zoo. Or you can sell animals. You can have a pet store. So none of it is meant to be eaten. It's all meant to be sold. So that's also not a problem. So when would it be a problem?
If we were raising.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. So if you have a farm, let's say, and its ultimate purpose is you're going to be selling the meat, which is coming from the animals, then this is where this prohibition kicks in, so to speak. Does anybody know why?
I'm assuming because if you sell it for food, it may become a problem later on. It might be mixed.
Oh, so there's a few opinions over here. Some say the reasoning for the prohibition is that if you're doing business the whole day with meat, right, or things that you can eat, you may come to eat it yourself, right? And the whole day, that's what you're dealing in, right? So we're worried that, chas v'shalom, by mistake, one can come to eat it. There's a Chassam Sefer. The Chassam Sefer is one of the earlier halachic authorities from Hungary. So he writes that ein dersh in time of the crowd. We don't. There's no reasoning for it. This is what it says in the Torah, and we don't go based on reasoning. But so because sometimes if you have a reason, and the reason wouldn't apply, it could be possible that in some cases something would be permitted. But if you say ein darshan time of the crowd, we don't darshan the reasoning of a pasuk. So even if the Torah gives you a reasoning, we don't take that as the reasoning for the halacha. We just take the halacha at its blank value. So it makes no difference. It would be prohibited in any case. Now I'll ask you an interesting question. Let's see what we can come up with. I was actually asked this question. It's a real question. a Jewish person owns a business where he grinds materials for other people. And a non-Jewish person asked him to grind non-kosher meat for him to make it eventually into pills as an ingredient. So the meat is obviously eventually going to be eaten, right? It's made for consumption. But the Jewish person, he's not the one selling it. He's hired to do a job to grind it for the non-Jewish customer and to give it back. What do you say? Can you do it or not? Is he allowed to take this job or not?
It depends.
Oh, let's hear. What does it depend on?
He could, but it wouldn't be the best option.
Why could he? What would be the reasoning? Oh. So this is a very interesting question. So
Was I right though?
see in a second. You're not wrong. So over here, what do we mention? That one is not allowed to do business. What does it mean to do business? To do business means, how do you make money? You buy and you sell. So you actually own it and you sell it.
like
You
he's
buy it
never
and sell
owning
it.
it.
Oh, very good. Very good. We're getting there. Very good. But here's the problem. What else do we say? You're also not allowed to take something as a collateral. When you take a collateral, do you own it? No, you don't, not right away. Only if the person doesn't pay you back, then you acquire the collateral. Until then, you did not acquire the collateral. So over here, in our case, the person doesn't own it, but it's not so simple. A collateral, a person also doesn't own. So do we say such a thing or not? Is this a reason why it would be allowed or not? So the same Chassam Sofer that I mentioned earlier says like this. In order for something to be permitted, you'd have to be only a worker. You cannot own it. And you directly cannot actually deal with the non-kosher food. If you have non-Jewish workers dealing with the non-kosher food, then it would be allowed. So according to this opinion, you need two things in order for this person to be able to take this job. Number one, he's just a worker, he's just a contractor, so to speak. He's not acquiring the non-kosher meat. All he's doing is he's doing a job for somebody else. And number two, he cannot actually be the one working with the products. He has to have non-Jewish workers doing it. So in this case, according to the Chassam Sofer, according to this opinion, would he be allowed to take the job or not?
No, because he's working with it.
Oh, so if he's working with it, the answer is no, he cannot do it according to the Chassam Sofer. He would have to have workers doing it for him. And obviously the workers have to be non-Jewish, because if he has Jewish workers, it's the same problem. They're not allowed to deal with it either. There's another opinion, the Sholem Eshev, another halachic authority. He maintains that no, as long as you're just a worker, I don't need condition number two. Because ultimately, a worker has to give back the product entirely. He has no right to eat it. He has no right to use it for personal gains. So what are we going to say about a collateral? Why is a collateral not allowed? Because ultimately, a collateral, so it's a Trumas Hadeshin. We'll leave it on the side, but ultimately a collateral you could acquire eventually. Okay, so that's a very practical application of this halach. So if somebody wants to open up a business dealing with non-kosher animals, so you're not allowed to own it in order to sell for the purpose of eating. But if you have a business which is made for a petting zoo or any other types of things, you sell horses, you sell donkeys, animals for working purposes, that's not a problem. The problem is when you buy and sell for the purpose of eating. Now, another very practical implication, let's say you own a business or you're the manager in a company and you're taking out your non-Jewish workers for lunch. What do we say? You're not allowed to feed them. So what do you do?
What? Really?
That's what it says. No. Even to purchase it, also, even to purchase it to feed your non-Jewish worker, one is not allowed. It's a big halacha. It's very important. So what do you do?
And kosher food.
That's one option. You buy them kosher food.
You give them money.
Exactly. The other option is you give them the money. It's their money now, and then they can purchase whatever they want. Right? So if you're the manager of a company, this is very, very practical, I'm saying, or if you have people that you know that are not Jewish, one may not purchase non-kosher food to feed them. What do? Either, number one, you buy them kosher food, or if it's not practical, whatever it is, you give them the money, and then they do whatever they want. Yeah.
What if, like, let's say you're at Starbucks with your friend and they get something not kosher and they're like, hey, can you pay for me?
Oh, very good question.
So like you're not the dish, it's all on them, but you're the one who's at the end of the day, and then they're gonna pay you back.
That's a very good question. And the answer we're going to see is,
It depends.
Obviously.
no, it's actually this halacha.
Oh.
Because look what it says in the first line. Kol davar she'asr min ha'torah b'achila. It's a very important line we just read. Anything which is prohibited on a biblical level. In Starbucks, it depends on what you are purchasing. If they're buying just a coffee, so
Okay, we're like McDonald's, there's something treat.
no, then that's already different. If it's only something which is from a rabbinic decree, a prohibition on a rabbinic decree, so let's say if it's just not Chalav Yisrael, or it's baked by somebody who's not Jewish, it's called Pas Akum, it's not Pas Yisrael, so then this halacha wouldn't apply. McDonald's, there's already a prohibition from the Torah, not kosher food, meats which are not kosher, so on and so forth. That's the difference. So if the product that they want to buy, they bought themselves a non-kosher coffee, so it's probably only in Isser D'Rabbanan, if it's only a prohibition on a rabbinic level, so that would be allowed, because it's not a prohibition on a biblical level. But if it's something which is mamish treif, on a D'Oraisa level, on a Torah level, then no, you can't do it. You have to tell them, sorry, I'm a Jew, I'm not allowed to do this. And then they'll say, oh, okay, that's cool. And they'll leave you alone.
It's really just another one of your things.
Exactly. Base number 2. Im nezdamin la'adam ba'akroi davar aser k'gein shetzah dagim v'ala b'mitzedes dag tamei v'chein ish nezdam lo'im nevela trefa b'veisim muter l'machron kevin shleim niskadim l'kach. Here is an interesting exclusion to this halacha. When are you allowed to sell non-kosher food? For example, fish, which are not a kosher species, or a non-kosher meat. It's something called nizdamin. Nizdamin means by chance you're parted. So let's say you went on a fishing expedition and you're fishing. Most fish today, saying, are probably do have fins and scales. Well, let's say you stumble upon in your net or in your fishing rod, you got a non-kosher fish. So were you going and looking for a non-kosher fish? The answer is no, you weren't. But it happened to be that you pulled out a non-kosher fish. So then you're allowed to derive benefit. Then you are allowed to sell it because you weren't looking for it. It happened by chance, so to speak. There's nothing by chance. It's Mashkacha Pratis, obviously, but it's called Nizdamna. It happened to be that you got a non-kosher animal. And the same thing is, if it happened to be, for whatever reason, you got non-kosher meat. So again, you weren't going to purchase it, but it was nizdamna loy. It happened that it came into your possession, then you are allowed to sell it. With tzarech lemachrin miyad, you have to sell it right away. You should not wait until its value goes up. Rather, you got it, you got to sell it right away. You're allowed to sell it through somebody else, even though the other person is going to make additional profits. But you're not allowed to sell it to the person who you're selling it through. I'll say it outside because it's so you are not allowed to do business with non-kosher meat, right? We just said there's an exception to this rule. The exception to the rule is if it's something called nizdamna. Nizdamna means by chance you got it. You went fishing, you got a non-kosher fish. You went, somebody brought to you non-kosher meats. You did not look for it. You did not search for it. You did not try to buy it. It just came to you. So then you're allowed to sell it. So what's your reasoning that you're allowed to sell it? Because it happened by chance, right? So are you now allowed to sell it to somebody else to sell it for you?
Yeah, why not? You can sell, why can't you sell it to someone else to sell it to you?
Oh, what happens if that person is Jewish?
Oh.
Very good.
Rabbi.
If the other person is Jewish, for the other person, that's considered doing business.
And you're making them do an Avera.
Very
So
good.
it's your Avera.
What if you know that they're not Jewish?
No, so that's fine.
Oh, okay.
So I'll go call up my friend Karen and have her sell some non-kosher.
But so what could you do? What could you do? You could ask them to be your shliach, so to speak, your selling agent, and you'll give them commission. So they did not actually acquire it from you at a lower rate and they're going to resell it because that's considered business. What you could do is you can hire them as an agent and give them commission, so to speak. So let's say they're going to sell it at $50 in the market. So commission, you'll give them whatever the going rate is. So you're not doing business, rather they're selling it for you. Okay, see, it's a good catch. Gimel, another exception to the rule. Let's say you gave somebody a loan and that you're coming to collect your money and the person tells you, listen, I don't have any money now, but I have 50 pounds of pork. Are you allowed to collect your loan by them with non-kosher meat?
No, because,
Okay, let's hear.
Because if it's a commission, so if you have to use it, it's not like you can go use it anyway. There's really no point.
Oh, so over here, it's a little bit different. The answer is you are allowed to. But there's a condition. The condition is you have to sell it right away. Can anybody guess why you're allowed to? Because ultimately, if you're not going to collect, you're going to lose. They're going to keep pushing you away. So in such a case, you're allowed to collect, and you have to sell it right away. You're not allowed to keep it in order for its value to go up. But you're allowed to, if the market value is going down, you're allowed to keep it in order for the market value to go up, so you won't incur a loss. So let's say the value of your loan was $100, and the guy paid you back with meat that right now its value is only $90, but if you leave it for a week, it's going to go back to 100. That you're allowed to do. You're allowed to keep it for that week because that is the keren, the principal value you're allowed to save. But if they give it back to you and it's worth $100, and you know if you keep it for a week, it's going to go back up to 110, that you're not allowed to do. You can only sell it right away. You have to sell it right away. And Daled, halacha number 4, which was in answer to your question, something which is only prohibited on a rabbinic level, for example, cheese which was made by non-Jew, you're allowed to do business with it. So you're allowed to open a cream cheese factory, which is only OED. Don't try it at home, but strictly speaking, the halacha is there's no prohibition to do business with such an item. Okay, clear? So are you allowed to open a Wendy's?
No,
How about a McDonald's?
no.
How about a Starbucks?
Yeah.
So it depends. If there's
Depending if
any,
you have sausage biscuits.
they have that? Starbucks sells such things?
They love their trademarking Starbucks.
Okay, so then it's a problem. If they sell things which are also minatayra, which are prohibited on a biblical level, then taka, you can't own a Starbucks. But if it's only a coffee house which sells milk, which is not Chalav Yisrael, and that's the only non-kosher thing there, the halacha is there's no prohibition to do business with it, but it's definitely not encouraged. You should not do so, obviously. Okay. Second, let's find the next chapter. Second. Okay, the next chapter, or no, the chapter right before, yeah. Page 406 in the Lashon HaKodesh, 407 in the English, Siman Samach Gimel, chapter 63. Aser lahenes b'dvarim v'lignev das habriyos. One is not allowed to deceive others with words or to mislead others. Okay, pretty straightforward, no? Just don't do it. Why do we have to learn? Okay. Aleph, halacha number 1. Just like deceiving somebody is forbidden when it comes to business, right? You're not allowed to deceive somebody in a business transaction. Also, one is not allowed to deceive somebody else when it comes to any verbal matters. Shenamar, how do we know about this prohibition? Like the Torah says, one should not deceive another person, and you should fear Hashem. So we learn out that this is deceiving through speech. And look what it says. What would you think? What's worse, deceiving in matters of business or deceiving in matters of just speaking to somebody? What's worse? Very good.
Maybe there's a 50-50 chance.
Yeah, you got the right 50%.
Beautiful.
It's worse to deceive somebody in speech than in business. Why? Can anyone guess?
Because in business, you could just ruin one deal, but in speech, you could ruin so many other things. Like especially when it comes to shidduchim, you could like take away someone's like entire life.
Oh, what's on your mind right now?
This is a very good point. Yeah, this is true. So deceiving somebody, because ultimately, if you deceived somebody in a business deal, technically you can always give back the money. I sold something to you for 75, not me, somebody sold something to another person for $75, but really its value was $50. They deceived person Aleph, deceived person Beis. Ultimately, what could I do? What can the person do to fix what they did? They can give back the extra $25. Or they can give back the entire value and take back the product. Right? You're able to fix what you did. However, when you said something and you deceived somebody, you can't always take it back. Right? For example, shidduchim, that's a very good example. Let's say somebody has a certain non-healthy tendency. They're abusive, they're this, they're that, whatever it is. And when you get a call and people are asking you, is this person, it's a healthy person, a stable person? Oh, absolutely, they're great. They're 100% fine. There's nothing wrong with it. So you're deceiving them, right? There is an issue. If they go ahead and get married, this is a very serious issue. That you were able to tell the truth and to be able to help the situation. But if one did not do so, this is you deceive them, and this is a price that the other person is going to pay for the rest of their life. Another difference is this is done with somebody's money. Money comes and goes. But the other thing is with a person's actual being. If you deceive them and that caused them an actual damage, which is not necessarily a physical damage, but they're living with the consequences of your deceival, this is much more serious than losing a few dollars, so to speak. So it's very important not to deceive anybody, obviously. Somebody who screams to Hashem because they were deceived, Hashem answers them right away. One has to be very careful not to deceive their spouse. Over here it's speaking about the wife, but it goes both ways, not to chas v'shalom to cause them pain. Verbally, a wife is sensitive in nature, and just a little bit of pain can cause them to cry. And Hashem listens to somebody to tears, and it says, the gates of tears were never closed. So be very careful not to hurt anybody. So it goes both ways. When one is married, the husband has to be very careful not to cause his wife any pain. And the truth is the other way also, the wife has to be very careful not to cause the husband any pain. Base, halacha number 2. Kate said he annoys the vadim. So what does it mean to deceive somebody? One is not allowed to go and tell their friend, hey, that's a really nice watch. How much do you want to sell it for? And ultimately, you don't want to buy it. You're just, saying things. This is called deceiving somebody. Why are you asking me how much it is? I'm going to take it as if you want to buy it for me. So one is not allowed to do so. One is not allowed to go and ask, oh, wow, how much do you want to sell it for? If you have no intent to actually purchase it. Somebody wanted to purchase grain. You should not tell them, go to this person, but he knows this person has nothing to sell. Right? So you say, hey, I want to buy a new purse today. Right? For example, or I want to buy a new shirt that looks like this and this. So you are not allowed to tell the person, hey, I know just a place. Go to this place. They have it. When you know good and well that they don't have it, one is not allowed to do so because this is also considered deceiving. Somebody had a friend who was a Baal Tshuva, you're not allowed to tell them, remember what you used to do. It's not allowed. If somebody sees that their friend is struggling, you're not allowed to tell them, okay, let's see inside. If somebody asked a question in Chachma, in logic, so you shouldn't go to somebody who you know is not going to be able to answer, hey, what do you say on this? Also, anything which is similar to the case that we just mentioned, because ultimately this causes somebody pain, right? So, I don't want to buy this and this, but I'm going to ask you, hey, how much you want to sell it for? The other person, hey, gets excited, I need the money right now. Maybe I should actually consider selling it. But little do they know, the person has absolutely no intent to purchase it. So this causes somebody pain, and this is called deceiving. So one is not allowed to do so. You're not allowed to remind somebody of previous actions that they did, which were not proper. This causes pain to them. They fixed it, they did tshuva. You're not allowed to remind them. So on and so forth. Gimel, halacha number 3. This is a very interesting halacha. Mi sheyesh l'shem kinei l'gnai, somebody who has a nickname that they're embarrassed by it. Yeah. Af al pi shu ragel v'esek kinei v'enim mizbayish by. Even if usually, when you say it, and they may not be embarrassed, but im zek havanos l'vayshe, when you're saying it now, let's say in front of other people, and your kavana, your intent is to embarrass them. Also, the one is not allowed to call them by this name because you're painting them, right? So if they have a name, let's say that they were called when they were younger, and they don't like it, so you're not allowed to call them by that name. Or let's say, that it's not so bad. You, as a friend, are allowed to call them that. But sometimes, if you do it in front of other people, you'll get hurt. You are not allowed to go ahead and call them by this name. Yeah, pretty simple. Daled, halacha number 4. Also, lignev das abrius. One is not allowed to mislead anyone. So there's deceiving, and there's causing somebody pain, and then there's something called deceiving. And you're not even allowed, misleading. And you're not even allowed to do so to somebody who's not Jewish. It's also forbidden. What is an example of misleading? If somebody, let's say, who's non-Jewish wants to buy kosher meat from you, you're not allowed to sell them non-kosher meat and tell them that it's kosher meat. That's called misleading. You're misleading them. If you're selling something which is a little bit blemished, but even so, its value is still the same, you still have to let them know about the blemish. Yeah, so let's say you have a product, you have a sefer that you're selling, and it has a little crap, yeah?
Okay, so let's talk about the From stores in Crown Heights. They're selling stuff from Shein, but marking up the price to $100 for a dress. How does that not go against this halacha? Because that is very misleading.
They're selling dresses from what?
Shein, which is like a really cheap China company where you can buy a dress for like $10 to $15.
And they're selling it for 100?
Yeah,
Wow, that's pretty smart.
but also pretty deceiving.
Is that actually the case?
Yeah.
You can buy it for $10 to $15?
From one store and went across the street and it was like half the price.
This is the exact same dress?
I remember playing this place on Barbie.
I mean, that's like not the issue. The issue is when you're buying clothing that you like, sometimes it will still have the tag on it.
What do you mean, from the original?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And just like the thing in general, like you're gonna go buy a $150 dress, but all the seams are still ripping.
It's a problem.
I agree.
That's a
Bring
problem.
that to the basement.
All right. I mean, I know you're not like in the stores buying dresses that frequently, so you know.
No, I bought a skirt and it's only $11 because it's clearly used and they sell me for full price. They didn't, like.
Yeah, really. You have to, yeah, 100%, you have to say something. It's not allowed.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, go for it.
Versus Crown Heights.
Versus Kingston Ave.
So I refuse to shop in these stores.
Let's finish the last halacha. Yeah, you have a good point.
Thank you.
You're not allowed to invite somebody to eat by your house if you know that they're not going to actually accept your invitation. So ultimately, you're giving them a fake invitation. The same goes to giving a present when you know they're not going to accept it. You're not allowed to show that your friend or somebody that you know that you're honoring them when really you have a ulterior motive. Always what you do has to be equal to the way your intention. Okay, Mitzvah Hashem, we will continue next week.